All right, we're back, and this time we are doing the 3A East region. We're going to do the overview, look at it. This is how we do it. We always do it this way. We look at how Max Preps got these teams ranked throughout the state and so on. You'll see all this as we break things down. But this region here is one of the ones that is exciting for us because it is a merger, a hybrid of both the old 3A Central and the 3A South becoming the new 3A East. So really excited to see this one here. Breaking this one down, this is going to be, and as you can only see, there's only 5 different regions in this division. So on this one here, we're going to go ahead and this is the second strongest one. Really interested to see, and we both confirmed we think that pretty much the winner of the state championship is probably going to come out of either the 3A Metro or the 3A East. I know that's not really a big shocker or guess on that. It'd be shocking to see somebody else actually go. This one here, we're going to go ahead and kind of take a good look at how we break this down so y'all can kind of understand this. We break down the regions into 3 sections. The green is the top tier, the yellow is the middle tier, and the red is the bottom tier. In this region, as we're kind of talking about, or division, I should say, the division has 31 teams, as you can kind of see here. We are going to go ahead and look at this. The number on top, for example, as we look into our first team here, which we'll get into in a second, the number on top is the state ranking, and then the numbers underneath is going to be the region or the division rankings. So the first one that we're going to jump into here is going to be Coolidge. We'll go back to that screen that we were just looking at in just a second. But Coolidge obviously coming off a real rough season last year. This is actually your old alma mater, your alma mater, whatever.
Alma mater. Yep.
Alma mater. I hate that word, alma mater. But we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna look at this. Let's go back to that scene right now. Coolidge is coming in ranked 180th in the state, ranked number 27 out of 31 in this division. Their strength of schedule, which is actually one of the tougher ones here. Well, no, actually, the whole thing looks kind of tough. So they're going to be coming in with a good mid-tier kind of schedule for them, a little stronger than what they're ranked at 981. So they have the 11th strongest out of the 31 teams in this region, so or division. So let's go ahead and go over this. Where and what do you think is going on with your old Bears?
Oh man, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Finished 0-10 last year, first year back for Coach Carlo Hernandez. Coming into year 2, it's could look promising depending on how the meshing comes with this team. Um, when you look at it, their non-region games are going to be really interesting. Really, going to be good matchups for them. I know you see that first one against their rivals, Santa Cruz Valley. I'm really interested to see because this is going to tell me a little bit more about what type of team we're going to get from Coolidge. Because Santa Cruz Valley lost a lot of seniors last year. So I think when you look at that first game, it's going to set the tone for how their next non-region games are going to go. But then they play teams like Chinley, Fountain Hills, and then a new team in ALA Mesa North. So interested to see what type of team they have out there. It doesn't take long for those ALA teams to kind of get going. But you're in the second toughest region in this division, and that's where it's going to really kind of level out for Coolidge. So another team that I think needs to take care of their non-region games in order to elevate this region here. But Max Preps has them going 1-8-1. The tie is, of course, because of ALA Mesa North. Don't know much about a new team, so 1-8-1. I think when you look at it, Coolidge could possibly be around a 3-4 win team if these players buy into Coach Hernandez's program. But overall, once you hit that gauntlet of this region, it's going to be very tough for them to possibly pick up some wins here.
I think the big thing that's actually hurting them is exactly what you just mentioned. Being in this region, it's almost like it's sweet but bitter. You know,
Mm,
you have 6 games, so you only get 4 non-region games. The strength of the region games is ridiculous. Um, so, like you're saying, you have to pick things up outside of your region. So the non-region games were really vital on who they had scheduled. I think you hit it kind of like, can they do something with Santa Cruz Valley with what you're saying? A loss of some of their players. That Chinley game has got to be something you got to put on your belt. Fountain Hills is another one you got to get under your belt. Um, and then the other ones here, it looks like that ALA Mesa North is another one that's kind of could be. And who was the fourth one? Oh, actually, that's all 4 of them right there. So they
mhm.
really got to do something with that. If not, you're saying 181 is what Max Preps is predicting. I mean,
Correct.
I know last year I was the ugly guy who said they weren't going to do very well. Um, like you're saying, it's really like, can they rebuild? Can they get back in it? Can they not let that year knock them down? I think what happens sometimes is that people are they just don't buy in. I mean, you
Mhm.
got to have it. You got to buy in. And the sad part is it's going to be brutal, especially the back end of it all. Like when you have Thatcher, Push Ridge, all these teams like boom, 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 coming at you. This is where you show how if you can really put on your bear skin and like
Yeah.
literally do something with it. So really excited to see what happens with them. But it's gonna be an ugly battle.
Yeah, I think I will say, the one thing that probably they weren't able to develop over the previous years before Coach Hernandez kind of took over was the development of their junior high programs. Now that he's back, it's always been he keeps everything being able to transition over. So a lot of the junior high teams they would run the same offense that he had at the high school level, and I will say maybe if they can show an improvement this year, whatever comes back into that freshman class next year and so on, they do have a lot of talent coming in as long as they stay in the Coolidge area. So we'll see if they're able to, progress and be able to get those talented junior high kids to be able to come in and step up for this program. But like you said, it's a tough ask, especially playing in this region.
Well, you kind of hit on something that's kind of really interesting for programs such like Coolidge is that, you have Santan Foothills around the corner. You have both the Casa Grande Vista Grande teams, the Santan Foot. I mean, the Santa Cruz Valley, like you mentioned, Florence. I mean, there's so many opportunities, and that's the hard thing is to probably just keep those kids in that community. Don't go, don't leave. I mean, it's so easy to want to go chase wins, or a team or a program that's currently winning, where you kind of neglect that. Hey, look, I could help build this all up,
Mhm.
and getting the student body to buy in. I talk about that all the time. So I'm really intrigued, like, to see what happens. And when you see, for example, if you're looking at this image in the middle, everybody, when the top image where it says rank is red, and then you see the strength of schedule in yellow, that tends to show that they're playing a stronger schedule than what their team's actually currently ranked. So I'm really excited to see what they do. Don't get upset if there's a lot of losses. Get the victories. I think that's the big thing for me with this one. We are going to roll into none other than Florence, man. That team just around the corner that we were just talking about, which is interesting because in this region, we actually have 3 of your Pinal schools,
Yep.
and then we have only 2 Southern Arizona schools, and then we have 2 from that Thatcher and Safford area. So
Mhm.
this really is like a true 3A7. I mean, a 3A East kind of vibe program. I love it, dude. Honestly, I think it rounds it all off and is definitely strong and dominant. Going and looking at Florence here. Florence comes in ranked 69 in the state. They're ranked number 5 out of the 31 programs that are in this division. On this one here, they have the second weakest schedule, being that they're right there in about the mid spot, 15th out of the 31 programs. So let's go ahead and look at this. This is probably going to speak strong win loss, but not necessarily the schedule that I'd probably like to see. This is kind of a reoccurring thing. Like, I'm not a Pinal guy, but
Mhm.
it's not the schedules that I like to see, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, no, so Max Preps has them going 7-3. But at the same time, when you look at it, this has always been the issue with Florence is that they always have one of the easiest schedules in 3A. And I mean, I think in this division or this region, they have the second easiest schedule. So when it comes down to them making it to the playoffs every year, with an easy schedule, you're going to make the playoffs, especially being a good team like Florence. But then they kind of get caught up against a strong team in in the playoffs. But now, being that they're with two of the previous state champions, and then a team like Thatcher, it's going to be a lot harder for them to have a 7-3 record in my eyes. I wouldn't sleep on that Thursday game against Round Valley. Round Valley knocked them off in the playoffs a couple years ago, I believe, or in a regular season matchup. And then the other one I wouldn't sleep on. Now they're not in the same region, but is ALA Ironwood. They're a team that has uh, greatly improved over the last 2 years, and I know that that's always their circled game right there, is to knock off a team like Florence. So 7-3 for me, I think it's a little high.
I agree.
And the reason is because of that ALA Ironwood game, and then also that Round Valley game.
I'm
I
gonna
think those two
go.
matchups are gonna be the ones that, if they want to go 7-3, they have to try to get those, or maybe even an 8-2.
I'm gonna throw a sleeper one. Something that, like, people don't tend to understand, and this is why I think a lot of these small communities, like the Saffords and Florences and stuff like that, get really frustrated. It's because, and this is what I'm gonna say: don't sleep on Sabino.
Nope.
Sabino, I think, had a rough year, but they're going to bounce back.
Mhm.
And they don't stay long down for long. That was the first year in over 20 years that they hadn't made the playoffs. That was the first time. So, can I see Coach McBrayer coming back with his squad and upsetting a team like Florence? Absolutely. Um, and that's a win that they're supposed to have. I don't know necessarily much and I can really just kind of chime in on some of the teams that I know here. Um, Safford, I don't know as if they're reloading as well as Thatcher does. Thatcher just is always reloads. Pusch Ridge might not be as dominant as they were, but you always have, like, those teams are just those four that have been in that South, which is Thatcher, Pusch Ridge, Sabino, and Safford. You got to kind of watch them because they've been playing against each other over and over and over again, and that was the strongest region last year. So I would watch that Sabino game. That one I'm going to throw out there. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I agree with the ones that you were mentioning, but that's my little dark horse. Like, Sabino could be an interesting one.
No, absolutely, and that's what I said. This with I mentioned it in our last episode, was Coach Hart's no longer at Florence, and so depending on who's taking the reins of this program, they're always a team that can. They have so much depth, they can just plug and play, especially when they lose a lot of seniors. But now you're learning a new system, depending on who they get to come in and coach. I think this was the first coach in a while that came in, and he wasn't a local guy or like somebody
Oh,
that they've heard about, so and that made a big change. These kids, there was no bias in anything. So these players really bought into that program. Now bringing in a new coach, could that kind of shake things up a little bit too for Florence? Because like I said, 7-3 was a little bit high for me, and then you throwing in Sabino in there, it could be a team that finishes at 500 for the
Right,
first time in a
right,
while.
right. I think like they jumped into a real dominant, like, and I'm saying top to bottom. Like,
Mhm,
I know Coolidge is kind of like the odd man out right now, but if you look at the rest of it, a lot of these guys have playoff experiences,
mhm,
like yearly. They're normally making it. Safford's in there a little bit. Tan Foothills is something. I mean, obviously a program that you know better than I do, but like the rest of them, like that have been in that 3A South, that's something to watch out. I mean, and talking about one, as we slide right now into the next team, Pusch Ridge, which was a state champion last year. You
yeah.
know, like there's no sleep in here. Like that's the one thing. I mean, that I find interesting on here as we go ahead and we look at it. As I mentioned, right now they come in 29th ranked in the state, number one in 3A last year out of the 31 programs here returning. Their strength of schedule, which is interesting, they have the strongest strength of schedule out of it all, being ranked the number 8 schedule out of the 31. So uh, go ahead and jump on it. What do you think here?
Well, just like usually off a state championship, Max Preps has them going 10-0. Pretty much a clean sweep here. I'm not so sure that's going to happen, like you said, with retooling of the roster and stuff like that. It's definitely a tall ask for a defending state champion.
Hmm.
But when you look at this schedule, it's going to be really tough for Push Ridge. I mean, this is another team you never sleep on, no matter if they're in a transition year or not. But there's a couple of games there that you kind of like circle and can be some question marks there. How's ALA Ironwood going to fare? Against them. They got to go play up a division against Catalina Foothills. We talked about them as a team that is not going to be down for very long. So if they're improved, it can make it really tough for them. And then you get into that region matchups with Florence all the way down to Safford. How many of those could be upsets where they take the loss there and then they finish up with another tough team out in the 3A Metro, and that's Ben Franklin. And that team, they come to play each and every year. They're like another Thatcher where they're contending for a state championship, especially here in 3A. So for me, it's going to be that ALA Ironwood game and Ben Franklin game and Catalina Foothills that are non-region, where if they're going to really do something, they got to win all three of those games there. And then I'd say, that Thatcher, Sabino in Florence, how's it going to go there? So to me, I don't think 10-0 is going to be what they finish, but at the same time, it's like how low could they go if they're not ready to play some of these teams?
When I'm looking at the schedule, right? I'll I'll say the Foothills game. I give them that one.
Mhm.
Um, I'll give them the Coolidge game. Obviously, I'm going to give them that one. I'll probably even say the Safford game, and by all means, I would love to see Safford be stronger than what I'm giving them credit for right now. But there is not one other game on here that is a sleeper. This is an exciting schedule. Like
Yeah.
this is a did they win tonight game? Did they win tonight? Like, I don't think there's one game inside here outside of those three mentioned that you could sleep on. Benjamin Franklin's a beast. Give them
Mhm.
props. Thatcher, props. I mean, Florence, hey, you step up, but I'll give you your props. Catalina Foothills, they're always there. They're scrappers. Like
Mhm.
they had a horrible season last year, but they were in every single game. Chrisman, like we had mentioned, ranked worse than what we really think they are. They had a lot of injuries. Like there's nothing I'm sleeping
Yeah.
on this schedule. Not one game. Can't do it. Like they could literally go from what we're saying 10-0 to 5-5.
Yeah.
Like, and I wouldn't be shocked. Like I just wouldn't be. I'd be like, oh, okay. Did you see their schedule? Like
Mhm.
their schedule's nasty. You know, and jumping into the next one, the one we already kind of briefly talked about a little bit there. Sabino is coming in ranked 109. So they were 17th out of the 31 teams, just falling short of that halfway mark. They have on this one here the second strongest schedule, and we were just talking about how strong Pusch Ridge schedule was. They
Yeah.
they have it's 12 out of the 31 teams, so they're coming in. Actually, they're the third strongest in their region. Well, no, they're not even the third strongest, bro. These are some strong schedules, bro. What are they?
Yeah.
Is this
Fourth?
they're fourth? Hold on, hold
Yeah.
on, hold on. Is it fourth?
Yeah, you got Pusch Ridge, you have Thatcher, Tan
They're
Foothills, and
fifth.
Coolidge all in front of them.
They're fifth.
Fifth. Oh man.
Yeah, it's the fifth strongest. Wow, wow. Because I've obviously Pusch Ridge, like we mentioned, then
Hmm.
Thatcher, then Santan Foothills, and then Coolidge. Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Okay, guys, this is what's going on. Yeah, man. Starting it off with Valley Christian, not a no sleeper there. Go ahead and run that one down, bro.
All right. So Max Preps has them finishing 4-6 on the year, possibly picking up wins against Coolidge, Tan Foothills, Saguaro, and Safford. But when you look at the rest of their schedule, I think there's some games that they could possibly pick up. I'm interested to see how they do against Dysart.
Okay.
Was a playoff team last year. Maybe even a Gilbert Christian. And we've seen Valley Christian, those first three games there. Valley Christian kind of took a step backwards last year. We're used to seeing them in that playoffs, maybe making all the way to the semifinals, state championships. So those ones are pretty interesting right out the gate. Of course, I know they're going to want to get that win back against Saguaro, who beat them. I mean, I don't know if you know, Chris, when's the last time that
Uh,
Saguaro beat Sabino? It's been a while, right?
it's been a minute. Yeah, that I know.
Yeah. So, but when you look at it, I think they do pick up the wins against Coolidge, Tan Foothills, and probably Dysart are probably their gimme games there. But then outside of that, it's going to be a long haul. Maybe I'll probably give them the game against Safford as well, but should be a good little matchup there. They're only two rankings apart from each other, but those first two games are really going to show what type of team Sabino is playing a team like Valley Christian and Gilbert Christian as well.
Looking at this on my end, I'm looking at they could easily start off 5-0. I think
Yeah.
then they run into Saguaro and they might actually even get a 6-0. I
Hmm.
think the train of success kind of stops maybe at Pusch Ridge, but you never know. You never
You
know
know.
how far Pusch Ridge fell off and how well Sabino may have gained up. Um, this is to me. You said they have them 4-6.
Yeah.
I'm going over 5. I'm going over 500. Um,
Yeah. I would agree.
I might even go 7-3. Or 6-4. I mean, I'm between definitely between the 7-3 and 5-5. That's where I'm at. I mean,
Yeah.
I think like you had the old sleeping moment, but the beast got woken up because he don't like to be poked like he was last year. That,
Yeah.
that's where I'm at. McBrayer ain't gonna let these guys like no. They're,
And I think for Sabino, they have the highest ceiling probably in this region
I agree with you
as
on
far
that.
as the biggest improvement in what Max Preps has them at because of just their history and what they're able to build in year in and year out. So, like I would definitely agree with you as high as 73. Who knows? You knock off one of those three of their tougher teams, Pusch Ridge, Florence, or Thatcher, you're talking maybe as high as an 8-2 if all goes right.
Don't sleep on Sabino. Don't do it. All right, going over here. Next one up, Safford. Safford, we're gonna go ahead and look at this one. Safford is jumping in. They are coming in 111th. They were actually like kissing cousins with Sabino last year. Ranked 18th out of the 31. Looks like here they actually have the weakest schedule, so could be in their favor for wins. I don't know as necessarily if that shows anything outside of it. That just telling me that their non-region games are probably going to be on more on the weaker side. 16th out of 31, so they're right there at that middle mark. And as we look at it, that's kind of what's going on here for me. I see Safford with a couple of teams in here that honestly. Uh, it's going to help their program because I think they need wins. Go ahead and tell me what is Max Preps predict them on?
So Max Preps has them going 4-6. That's what they finished last year. To me, kind of looking it over, their wins would come against Morenci, 2A team,
Right,
Winslow, Coolidge, and Santan Foothills. But when I'm looking at it, um, I mean, four wins around there. I think they're going to be, competitive with probably a Blue Ridge, maybe. I got to really look at. I know they had a pretty decent year last year, and then we'll see. How they compete against a team like Sabino, but I'd say somewhere anywhere between 500 or a little bit lower because I think the game against Morenci, we talk about the first games and all the flaws that kind of come out in that game. Could Morenci possibly knock them off? Well, we'll see about that one. Santan Foothills, we're going to see how competitive Santan Foothills is this year.
right.
But I'd say, 4-6 is kind of where I would get them, maybe as high as a 5-5. But are you seeing anything different
I
than what?
think the Morenci game that you mentioned, I think Morenci understands what's going on with them. They had a really bad season last year. It wasn't really what they wanted. They did drop down. They dropped down to 3A this year. They were, I mean, 2A this year. They were 3A last year. Um, I don't think they're reloading the way that they wanted to, and I think that's kind of why they really petitioned to be moved down.
Mhm,
So I don't see that being the jitters that you mentioned could have happened. It's just me with a little more knowledge on it than
mhm,
than you on there. Um, Santan Foothills, I think that's going to be an interest game. Um, I think that one's the Santan Foothills one, and also, you know what, that's my game to really watch out of that one. That would be the one I'd be like, okay, look, where I think Sabino's going to be a little bit stronger than that. I mean, just that's just my feeling on it. Yeah, no, that's it. Like that's the one I'm really kind of that Santan Foothills game. I'd be all like, all right, that would be the game I'd really want to go watch. Maybe the Blue Ridge, like you're mentioning too. Um, but yeah, that's where I'm pretty much with it. I'm gonna probably go with you on the max preps around the that three. I mean 4 and 6, and it could even be worse than that. I think it might even be 3 and 7, just depending on. We'll see.
hey,
Going to be interesting because I mean the ones that I really give them right out the gate is the Coolidge, Winslow, and the Morenci game. Other than that, I mean, yeah, I'm not going to sleep on Santan Foothills. Santan Foothills, I got your back, guys. But I'm just joking. That plus, like, we were over at. I'll tell you this right now, real quick. We were over at the game time. Uh, what was it? The
meet and greet?
prospect camp. The
Oh,
camp.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
The camp, and I had several kids from Santan Foothills saying that they were going to do something this year, and I was like, all right, you got me, all right. I'll try to give you some love. So Santan Foothills is giving you some love because I know most of the time I probably don't. I don't know. Whatever the case might be. Going into Santan Foothills, here we go. They're ranked 134th, second. Actually, 20 out of the 31st out of 31 teams in the division. Here they do have, and we mentioned their what is that, the third strongest, whatever, fourth strongest. Well, I mean, at this
Right,
point in time, I'm
yeah.
delusional just looking at it. Ranked 10 out of or 10th strongest out of the 31 teams in 4A football. So I'm really interested to see what happens. I know that Max Preps does not have them predicted well, but when I look at this, right, and I'm looking
Mhm,
at the yellow around their ranking and the green down at the bottom, that just tells me if they have any success, that this is going to A, help their region, B, it's in their favor to help pull them up in rankings.
Mhm.
So when you see that color up on the top is weaker than the strength of schedule when it comes into the tiers that I break it down. This is a team that has the potentials, if they can do something with it, to actually change things. They could really be like the expectations for them to do well, and you can go ahead and tell them what Max Preps has them predicted, but the expectations, if they can beat that, this could be a good thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Max Preps has them going 2-8 on the year, which I know anybody in Santan is not going to be happy to hear that, because to me, I always think that they can build a great program. The only thing that they struggle with is all the competing schools in their area.
Right.
It's a growing area, and I want to say I can name 5 schools that are within maybe 15 minutes of each other, 20 minutes. So that's probably the only thing that hurts Santan Foothills each and every year is to be able to keep kids into that program. But when you look at their schedule, I mean, their wins are supposed to come against Shadow Mountain and Coolidge. But if you look at it, they beat Dysart last year. So I think that they can be competitive with Dysart. We just talked about Safford. That's going to be a competitive game for them. And then it's always a rivalry with Santan Foothills and Florence. I believe 2 years ago, Santan Foothills finally knocked them off the throne. They have, I think it's the Gila River Bowl, if I'm not mistaken, is the trophy that they play for. Just fairly newly introduced. So like you said, I think for Santan Foothills just to even pick up a couple more wins than what they're expected, it's a win for this region, and it's going to help their power rankings once all the seedings start to come out.
Yeah, I think it's almost like you guys are the underdogs.
Hmm.
So go and fluster some feathers and stuff like that. Like I'd mentioned, and you brought it up again, is that Safford game. Like I want to see something there. The Dizer game. Like I agree with you there. Um, could they do something with a Sabino? Possibly. It's like, guys, like, buy in, get your friends to come out, like hop into that program, make that program something that's striving good. Like we saw them just a couple years ago. They were a good, strong, powerful team. So I know it's there. The potentials and capabilities is there. And me and Daniel right now are throwing out. We think you're better than the 2-8 that Max Preps is giving you guys. I don't know if they've reached that 5. I don't think so. I think that once again they're really battling an ugly region to be in.
Hmm.
But at the same time, make you stronger. I think that's the big thing for me on this one. Other than that, I mean, I don't think they reached the 4-6 either. I think they're kind of 4-6 and below.
Okay.
But wish them the best on that. Come on, Santan Fully. I'm rooting for you. This is it. I'm kind of doing it. Like throwing out the hopes here. See, like especially if you could bring some wins that are the non-region games. I think that's where you really need to focus is those non-region games and try to get some W's up under them with them four games that you got. Last one, bro. We're gonna hit Thatcher, the beast from the east. Like
Uh,
Coach
no
Jones.
kidding.
Coach Daniel Jones. So like dropping this, you can't sleep on Thatcher, dude. Every year, and like eventually something's gonna happen. They're gonna probably move up too. Watch it. Ranked number 42 in the state, number 2 out of the 31 teams in the division. They have the second strongest schedule in this group here, ninth out of the 31 teams, coming with that 969. Um, Man, I'll let you run it down first, but I mean, these are the dogs.
Oh yeah. So Max Preps has them finishing at 9-1 this year with their sole loss, possibly coming against Pusch Ridge. Um, I mean, it's it's a tough ask for them for sure. But at the same time, you always say, you talk about that your team never to sleep on here.
Nope.
And I'm kind of thinking as I'm looking at their schedule here, if they do get a loss, I don't think it's going to come against Push Ridge this year.
I think
I
me and
think,
you are already thinking the same
yeah,
thing.
I think the one you got to
No,
circle
week 3.
week 3 against
Yep.
Ben Franklin, so, there's no more ALA West Foothills as they moved up to 4A. That's the team they lost to in the semifinals. But if I'm gonna throw another team out there besides those 2 teams, maybe an ALA Ironwood, see how they're going, but I think that Coach Jones's, roster is always pretty stacked to, go against a team like ALA Ironwood. So, the one I do have circled is just that week 3 game where they travel to Ben Franklin. And then you can't sleep on the Sabinos, and we'll see what Push Ridge is, but that to me is gonna be really telling as to what type of team Thatcher has this year.
I'm gonna say I'm interested, but I don't think it's gonna be a win. Um, Apache Junction. I want to know how Apache Junction does coming down to 3A. So I'm
Mhm.
really kind of intrigued on that game. Not that game per se, but just to watch Apache Junction. Like, how do you guys do in 3A if they upset some people, or if it's like, it's business as usual for Apache Junction. But yeah, other than that, man, I mean, I'm staring at it. It's Benjamin Franklin for me. Like, I'm not saying that Push Ridge isn't going to be a battle or whatever the case might be. It's just hard to reload and go back to back when you lose certain kids and components, especially Thatcher. Just, I don't know, what do you guys have in your water down there? Like how is it your lines are always like 6'3" plus? Like,
I don't know, man. Once you start getting out to the east and you start going up, a little bit north, that was my whole thing playing in this division was when you go from junior high to high school, something happens out there, because it was always the Blue Ridges and the Sholos that were
it's
just
the
like,
food.
what are
It's the
these?
food.
Yeah, what are these
Something.
guys doing? So, but whatever it's doing, it's working for sure. As far as that Apache Junction, I'm really interested to see what type of team they're going to be. But they just fall into that same realm as you when you look at Santan Foothills. You're fighting for competition there. You're fighting for them kids to stay with Chrisman and Eastmark. Not too far from Apache Junction. It's kind of like you have to prove something. But yeah, for Thatcher, definitely. I don't think they fall no lower than an 8-2 this year. But could be a team that could end up going 10-0. We'll see.
All right, so you know what I'm about to do? I'm about to ask you, how do you think they're gonna finish off?
All right, so I'm gonna throw Thatcher out there at 1.
Okay.
I'm gonna have Push Ridge. Oh man. I'll throw Push Ridge at 2, defending state champions. I'm gonna have some faith in them.
I'm agreeing
And
with you.
then I'm gonna throw Sabino in at number 3.
I'm agreeing with you still.
And I'll put Florence at 4,
Okay.
and Tan Foothills at 5, Safford at 6, and Coolidge at 7.
The only thing I might do might be a little flip flop between me and with Santan Foothills and Safford. But other than that, actually, I do agree with you. I think you're probably right. I think Safford does take but that's the game. That's the game I really want to watch. You know that the Santan Foothills versus Safford game. I think that's going to be a good game. I think the Sabino versus Florence game would be a good game.
Yeah.
Um, I think, as always, Thatcher versus Push Ridge, good game. And Sabino can always sleep on, I hate to sound like I'm you know you're a Sabino homer. I was like, no, most of the time I'm really hard on Sabino, but I really do think that they're going to have an exciting bounce back year. Might not be as good as normal, but playoffs, you are bound to start again.
Mm,
Sabino, enjoy that. Uh, but once again, like we also looked at here, guys, there is not a lot of teams in this in this division. This is one of those 31 teams. That's all it is. And you know what? Going back on this, let's talk about this because 16 teams, so more than half of them are going to the playoffs. So, are you going to be on the dirty top or on the bottom top? You know,
exactly.
so
Yeah, I think when you look at this whole division as a whole, it's turning into kind of like what was it, the 6A that has, 30 something,
29
maybe 40,
teams, 29.
29 teams, and then with the you're pretty much having like if you don't make the playoffs, you have to be really, really bad in that 6A division. But this is unfortunately what the AIA is turning this 3A into. And I know, off camera, me and you started talking about it. Like, what can we do to make this region or this division more competitive? If they're not moving to a 24-man playoffs like 5A, 4A, and 2A, then how, do you make it more competitive? Because we talked about we will bet our money on the state championship coming out of either the 3A East or to the 3A Metro. And so, we could probably easily find teams in the 4A, a lot of great teams in 2A that can make up another two regions for this division because
Absolutely.
it and that's the sad part about this division here is just like if for half the teams to make it, it just shows that there's no care about this division here. And if you guys have ever been out to any of these games regarding the 3A division, it's probably one of the most exciting games of football because you got these small schools that show that they have a lot of talent and they don't get seen as much. So, there's to me has to be something that needs to get done to keep this division as something people want to go out and see.
I mean, I think when we're just kind of in with you bringing up this, I just kind of popped in on this. I think you could easily move the 4A Copper Sky into the three, like just
Mhm,
just move them all, like Washington, Copper Canyon, Alhambra. Like you could move several of these teams and programs down to the 3A, and they wouldn't miss a beat. You know,
mhm,
they'd be fine. Um, I think there's even times where we could argue some of these teams in 3A, if they would move, that some of these teams in 4A would drop down or some of these 2As might move up. I think when you're looking at 2A, like your Pimas, your Morencis, teams like that we briefly were talking about, stuff like that, like they might be more willing to move up into the 3A if some of those powers that we'd been talking about, Benjamin Franklin, Thatcher. Like I know every time I say this, like, you know, some of those coaches are like they clinch up. I know my coach Daniel Jones does it for Thatcher. He's like, "Hey, why are we moving up? Don't try to move us up." I don't think 4A is the 4A of before. It's kind of
yeah,
getting watered down. A lot of programs are now moving into like the 5As. Honestly, a lot of programs from 5A need to move into 6A, and we just kind of like it's kind of clogged up right there between 3A and like the 6A is kind of backed up or whatever the case is. But I mean, there's a lot of good football, a lot of good football, and like either way, I mean, we're just touching on some like just today. Even there's 7 teams in this region right here. It's like you know, I would rather see once again. Let's get back down to either the 6 or even lower than that, so we can see a lot more. Not, I think when you have big regions like this, you don't see much movement outside because like the way the region's going to grow is if there's a lot more non-region games, so it can like kind of fluctuate and see how they actually line up better with the rest of the division. But I mean, all around, I'm still excited. Like there was several schedules that we just covered that were really impressive. I think they're going to be great, like to watch. So I'm excited. Let's see it. Go football.
Oh, same here. Finally, we got a region, that in this 3A that has all of our teams mixed into one, and this is our only region that we're covering as far as doing an overview for. But when we get down into that 2A, you're gonna see what we talk about as far as being too many teams in one division.
11 regions.
11 regions in that one. So, but I'm excited for 3A football. It's what I grew up on. So it's going to be a fun one to watch this year, especially in the Metro and the East. So keep your eye.
Going to be a good one. All right, everybody, we're out. We're going to get out of this one.
Meet SitBax Bleacher Seat, the first comfy stadium seat. I'm a parent with kids in sports. I've lived on the bleachers and tried countless stadium seats. I found light seats, foldable seats, hot seats, this seat. I couldn't find a comfy seat, so I made my own. First, it has a tall back with lower back, middle back, upper back, and neck support. It's lined in thick, full-body contoured padding, complete with a head pillow and optimal height armrests with cushions. It has a breathable mesh back, L-shaped folding arms, and its angular design frames your body so it won't block anyone's view. Compact, lightweight, and portable is a must, so we made it fully collapsible with padded adjustable backpack straps. While most seats are fixed, the SitBax Bleacher Seat reclines into a relaxed position. It was almost complete when I thought, what if I could also rotate the seat? So we added a rear swivel feature so you can fully rotate the seat in any direction and view from the best angle. And there we have it, the SitBax Bleacher Seat. When I received the first model, I was so excited. There was no pressure on my neck, no pressure on my back. I was floating. Finally, a comfy seat. Now we're ready to share it with the world. Whether you're dedicated parents, sports fans, or event goers, you've invested significant time and money into these experiences. Now get ready to sit back and relax.